First and Now, the official BC Lions podcast. Pleasure to be back with you on your favorite podcast platform. Matt Baker, Nick Kowalski, remote today, looking to get back inside the Go-Goat Sports Studios, perhaps next week. Always love doing it at the Wall Center, home of our friends Sakaris and Price, of course, among other podcasts. And Nick, I think we're dubbing this the BC Storm Edition. You're a Manitoba guy. What do you make of this snowstorm we're having outside? I know the audio doesn't do it justice, I know, but...
Feels odd, some snow effects in, but it feels more normal to me, I guess. But I'm hearing in the mainland this is not too common to. At least it looks a little windy too, so that might be a little unideal. I know I brought this up before, but when we were in Winnipeg for that playoff game, the fact that there was zero wind made that weather totally tolerable.
Oh yeah, I mean, it was colder for the game we went to in Edmonton 3 weeks previous to that. I think
at moments, yeah, I agree.
I mean, that was like an 8 o'clock kickoff, essentially. Maybe that contributed to it. It gets dark, it gets colder and it gets darker. But yeah, I was overdressed for the Western Final. Was out and about a bit today, doing some errands and working remotely because it's nice to have that option again now that there's no football happening. And it just kind of hit me a couple hours ago. We're recording this on a Tuesday afternoon. So I'm in Burnaby. The snow looks like it's sticking. But yeah, like what I'm getting at with that is you're a prairie guy through and through. You moved here not only to work for the BC Lions, but also to get away from the winter, right? But yes. You must just chuckle when you see like everyone's making contingency plans. Do we drive? Are they going to close schools? That's always a big thing. It's always total chaos, young Nick.
Well, we were talking around the office today, and some junior football practices are getting canceled because of the snow. And I was talking with the guy who works, or he's from Ontario, who's in our office right now, and he was laughing at this too, that the practice would get canceled because of a little snowstorm. It is pretty. It's kind of like blizzard-like conditions, but I mean that's kind of normal for Canada, no?
Yeah, you'd think. The West Coast winter is. You always think rain, wind. I mean, from a practice perspective for our team this year, really, maybe 1 or 2 days where it was really wet out and you kind of had to bring a change of clothes and go dry out for half an hour after. Yeah. But really, even that last practice week leading into Winnipeg, it was nice. I know the week before we were preparing for Calgary and inside on a couple of the cooler days, but yeah, you're a full-time British Columbian now. You're going to get a chuckle out of this. Usually this is once or twice a year only, couple days a year, although they're calling for some hectic times. I think I read up about 25 centimeters. So those listening, stay safe out there and keep two hands on the wheel if you're driving, listening to this podcast. But it is kind of true Canadiana, right? You said it.
Yeah. Yeah, it feels normal to me. I mean, in getting back to our games this season, I feel like we kind of lucked out a bit with the weather. Like we really had the one weather condition that sticks out to me was the first Calgary game, the 41-40 game that we talk endlessly about. But it was almost too hot for that game. But other than that, we didn't really get any rain. I mean, like Winnipeg and Edmonton, there was cold, but it was also November, so that's expected. But I thought overall we were really lucky. We didn't have any rain. Actually, it rained indoors pregame at BC Place one time. Can't remember what game it was. Hamilton?
Hamilton or Saskatchewan at the end of summer.
Yeah, one of those two.
But maybe Hamilton.
Hamilton.
The
most rain we got.
No. Remember Hamilton? It was hot out, but the roof broke.
Oh,
the roof was closed, but it was because it was supposed to be open. So I think that was end of August against Hamilton, where it's funny. Yeah. Head coach, Rick Campbell, walks over to me and says, I'm not complaining, but that just looks weird. And it's like, that's the luxury of having a dome, or in this case, a retractable roof stadium. It's the best of both worlds. Summertime, it's no place I'd rather be in the CFL, open air, and the hole's open. And then as we saw in the playoffs, you close it, gets loud, dome field advantage. But, it's definitely part of it. It's funny, you mentioned that first game in Calgary, and we're going to talk to Lions receiver Alexander Hollins here in a couple of minutes. Nice little story that emerged from this season as we continue our off-season podcast adventures, planning to still do this every week. But that game in Calgary, remember, it actually rained as the bus was pulling up to McMahon Stadium, and you kind of looked at me like, I didn't pack any rain gear for the camera. And I'm like, Nick, don't worry. This is what Calgary's like. It'll rain for 20 minutes, then it'll be summer again. And that was probably the hottest game environment we were ever in. Remember, that was an earlier kickoff, 5 o'clock locally, I think, in Calgary, both times we went. That was an adventure, that's for sure. Surely, that was, in a nutshell, what that whole night was like, all over the place.
Mm-hmm. I do remember that, actually, with the rain pregame, too. It was right when we pulled up to the stadium, which would be about 3-4 hours before kickoff. So I do remember you telling you that, too. I always have, like, plastic bags, or you can always just find a plastic bag around a stadium. But in terms of actual gear, I didn't think to bring. And then the game kicks off, and you're suddenly worried about, and from my perspective, your camera overheating. That's actually something that will happen if it's that hot out. So that's why that game comes to memory. And then I think in Ottawa we got like a quarter of like spitting rain. So like for the whole season, I'll take it.
Yeah, we had a rainy game in Ottawa as well in 2021 last season. And remember, it's amazing what a snowstorm does. We start talking about football weather experiences, but we love it. Not much football news to talk about, so we'll do this for a few minutes. But 2021, it was the same point in the season, week 3, week 4, something like that. The team went to Ottawa, and we got drenched in the second half. Won the game. Mike Riley and Brian Burnham were dynamite against the Red Blacks, and proved it 2-2, I think. And it's funny, the credentials we have, our CFL tier passes and our team passes.
Yeah, I
think it was Kelly Bates and Brent Frid both came to me when we got home a couple days after we got home. He says, Matt, can you make us a new pass? Like, just the rain just completely damaged their credentials. I don't know if that speaks to the rain or the condition of those laminated passes, one of the two, but that's what I remember most about one rainy game in Ottawa in 2021.
I think about that Jordan Williams interception off Matt Nichols, and there's like a slow-mo shot of him holding the football up in the air, and it's just, pouring rain. Yeah. That's what I think of when I think of that game 2021 season.
Yeah, credit to our guy, Stephen Chang. He got some pretty cool photos that night. And that was certainly an interesting memory from that season. And really 6-7 years doing this job or working for this team in communications, the last 3, and still traveling before that, just doing web and social. I want to say there was a game in Winnipeg in 2016 where the refs may have missed an Andrew Harris fumble in the fourth quarter. I don't know if you remember this game. It was like freezing rain for a portion of that one. That was probably one of the worst ones. That same year, the last game at Old Mosaic was pretty frigid. Had to layer up, wear gloves, get a team parka from the equipment guys. But really, 2016 Western Final in Calgary was warm. I didn't have to wear a coat until the second half. There was a warm spell coming in, and then really up until this year in Edmonton, maybe a little bit in Winnipeg. And I rewatched again massive snippets of the Western Final just last night, just because I can't get away from it. This is still really a lot of what I'm thinking about, what could have been, and watching that, it looked colder watching it than it actually was.
Yeah, I got those comments too, and I kind of had to debunk that. But again, it was because of the wind factor. But the field was not frozen either. People were saying like the field looked cold, but it was not frozen.
Yeah, and watching some of the replays, like Dustin Nielsen, Glenn Suter, both great guys. We had Dustin on a recent episode, talking about Nathan Rourke's footing and stuff. Other than coming off the injury, I'm not sure the field conditions really played a role. A couple misfires, a couple receivers dropping balls that should have been caught. That's just human error, not field conditions. But anyway, it was a fun ride. And hey, hopefully we're in Hamilton in a little less than a year from now. It'll certainly be windy like it was in 2021. You and I were both there, and we're hoping to be there in a more official working capacity this time around. Speaking of that Western Final, the man who scored the Lions' last touchdown of that game to keep it interesting late, Alexander Hollins talk about getting a cup of coffee this season, how much he enjoyed it. He's a former Minnesota Viking. Would love to hear some stories about playing with Kirk Cousins and that great organization. We'll speak with Alexander Hollins coming up momentarily on First and Now, the official BC Lions podcast. And we have blast off. Alexander Hollins has joined us from his home in Yazoo City, Mississippi. I'm saying that right, sir?
Yeah, that's right.
Well, welcome. First time appearance on First and Now. We've enjoyed talking to you at various points this season. And I guess we'll kind of start there. I think you took off pretty much a few days after the season ended. What's it like now? Are you full on into training? Is it still kind of decompressing after a long grind? What's the day-to-day like at this present moment, Alexander?
Nah, the season just ended not too long ago, so right now I'm just resting the body. Just doing like little stretching and mobility and stuff. Like I'm not doing no weightlifting yet or nothing on the field right now. So I'm just giving my body like a physical break from everything because it's a long season. So give myself some time and probably like right after Christmas I'm gonna get it back jumping.
Let's we learned a little bit about you while we were making small talk. You're a pretty good bowler.
Yeah,
Explain
I'm
that.
all right bowling. I'm a pretty decent bowler.
Are you what's your highest score?
My highest score I bowled was a 201. That was my highest score.
And we're talking 10 pin, obviously.
Yeah, 10 pin. Yeah.
Man, that's pretty impressive. You're giving us content ideas too. You thinking about getting a friendly game going, maybe with your fellow receivers or perhaps the DBs? We saw the DBs were bowling at one point this year.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do that. We're gonna have to set that up. Once we get back, preseason stuff over, we got to set up a time in the day to go bowling and see who's the best.
There you go.
That sounds like a good Kamloops activity.
Yeah, Kamloops too. Yeah, and we got a competitive receiver group, so nobody gonna want to lose.
Yeah, it seems like you guys are always trying to outdo each other. So maybe we'll set the wheels in motion, get a bracket going once the roster is finalized. I think we could be on to something here, Alex.
Yeah, we could do that.
As far as football goes, you get into 4 games, both playoff games. You had a big touchdown against Calgary. I had one out in the cold in Winnipeg. Overall, how would you assess your first full season as a Lion?
Man, we've just been patient and waiting for the opportunity. Obviously, we had a great group of guys. You know what I'm saying? And, man, we had a great group, and so obviously with injuries, when one guy goes down, the next man up. That's the standard. It's always gonna remain the same. When we had the first guy go down, Josh came up, he did his thing, and Josh went down. Then I came up and stepped in. So the standard high for that group. So no matter who's in, just gotta make a play.
And yeah, you waited 18 weeks to get that opportunity to crack into the lineup, and you made the most of it too. You score in your first game. You had another 65-yard catch that was unfortunately called back. What are your numbers from that first CFL game that you really, really balled out in?
Oh man, it was fun. I actually hate that play got called back because that would have been big. That would have been big for us. But that was my first professional ever touchdown. And I dedicated that one to my mama. A lot of guys probably don't know. I lost my mama to heart failure when I was in 7th grade. So she actually died on my first football game in middle school, and I still played that game. I scored the game-winning touchdown. So I told myself whenever I had the opportunity to score my first professional touchdown, whatever it's NFL, CFL, whatever, it was gonna be dedicated to her. So that's why you guys got some good shots to that. When I scored, I just pointed to the sky. That was for her. So that's one for the definitely remember, the first one, the first game. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely did her proud with your play this season, and the touchdowns in the playoffs too. Like the first one, the one against Calgary, that opens the game. That's the first touchdown of the game, and
Yeah.
it's a double move, I believe, that you ran on that one. And I believe I saw that play in practice earlier with you and Nathan connecting on that. Is that something like Nathan's a special quarterback, but you guys working together, maybe not all season too, just not being with the ones all season, but stepping into that role and working with Nathan, you guys found a good chemistry when you hit the field.
Yeah, we actually did rep that play in practice, and we completed that as well. And when we get to run routes on air, that's our time to get that connection with each other and that time with each other. So just practicing all year with those guys, and I think it helped a lot. Going into the game, so it was just like practice. They called a play, and I ran a good route, and I executed.
Mm-hmm. One thing I always like asking guys about on this team is their touchdown celebrations, because I for my money, we have the best in the league. But you and D Rhymes had a pretty good dance. What's the context of that dance you guys had?
Man, oh man, I forgot the name of that dance. I forgot the name of that dance. But it was recommended by someone though. So she told me to do it if I score. So I told her I was gonna do it. I forgot the name of the dance. I'm gonna have to get back with you on that. The name of that dance. I forgot the name of it.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
We'll be seeing some more next season, and you guys can get
Yeah.
them all.
You're gonna see a lot more dances.
Yeah. What were your thoughts about Kamloops? I imagine it was one of your first times coming up to Canada. Was it your first time ever being in Canada this season?
Yeah, first time ever being in Canada. I always wanted to visit Canada, so I had the opportunity to kill two birds in one stone. And so my first time in Kamloops, it was cold, and I was like, "Oh man, it's cold out here." But it was nice though, cause we get to practice and see like the mountains and everything. Me being a country boy from Mississippi, we don't see no mountains. We just gonna see trees and flat land. You gonna see some deers, some squirrels and rabbits hopping across the road and stuff like that, and dirt roads. Yeah, so you're not gonna see no mountains. So that was like different for me to see. So every day, just walking from the dorms and up into practice, I always was like, wow, that's nice. So it was cool though.
Yeah, it's funny. It was Deron Carter in 2019 I was talking to. He just arrived, introduced myself, and I said, welcome. I said, how's the trip? And he was just memorized. He's like, I've never in my life, I guess he flew in from Florida and then rented a car and drove to Kamloops.
Mm-hmm.
He said, I've never seen like a waterfall like that coming down from a mountain right off the highway before. Like, as I'm a guy who grew up in this area in Greater Vancouver, we take all that for granted. It must definitely be special for a lot of you guys who come from different backgrounds. And yeah, we're only 6 months away from being back there. I certainly can't wait. Love the Kamloops heat, love the people, love the scenery. Before you made it to Kamloops the first time, before you were signed with the Lions, kind of go down a little bit of memory lane here. You transfer, Alex, to Eastern Illinois for your final year of college. I have to ask, he was gone for a couple of years, but do you ever have any interaction with Jimmy Garoppolo?
No, I don't. No, I don't. I met him once though when we played against him. My rookie year, we played against the 49ers.
Would have been
in the second round playoffs.
In the divisional game, yeah.
Yeah. And so that's when I met him. I'm like, yo, Jimmy. It's Alex Hollins. I'm from East Illinois. He like, oh no way. He like, it's not too many of us here. And I was like, yeah. And he was just, and that was it. I got the chance to meet him. So it was cool.
That's great. I mean, I was gonna say, how much pride do you take, as a guy who's from a smaller school, and now you're seeing more quarterbacks like him who come from smaller schools, guys like Josh Allen. How much pride do you take in your path?
I take a lot of pride in my path. I always been undersized, and people was just saying like he's too little and stuff like that. And but I always make the best of all my opportunities, which I always done, and just try to make them eat their words of what they used to say.
Yep. And that year in Minnesota, I think you got into 4 or 5 games, and you would have spent a lot of time learning from guys like Adam Thielen, right? Just to name Adam a few, Thielen. And Kirk Cousins. Yeah. What were those guys like?
Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs, those guys are some great receivers. I learned a lot from them, and Kirk Cousins, he's a good quarterback, and he's real down to earth. He's easy to get along with, easy to communicate with. He's a people's person. So, like, when I was in Minnesota, everyone loved him.
He wasn't wearing no chains back then, though, hey?
Nah, he wasn't wearing a chains back then. So now he on the plane wearing a chains. He like this, turning up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What
I saw it on social media.
One thing I like asking our guys about too is I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but would you and Marcus Sales, would you guys have crossed over in Minnesota?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did.
So
We was
you,
we was there together for some time. That's how I knew him when I got the camp in Kamloops.
so you guys are pretty familiar going against each other on one-on-ones and all that, right? With being on the practice roster at times.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, we were. We went against each other a few times, and Manny as well. I was in Cleveland with Manny.
Oh no way!
Yeah,
So what's that? What does that help you when you come to a new a new country, even a new league, and knowing like that 1-2 players that you played as teammates? Does that help you? Like, does that help develop an early connection right off the bat?
oh, it helps. It helps because it helps you. You want to get to know people and learn people, and you want them to get to know you as well. But you knowing somebody, where you going to, you don't know where you like going somewhere, and you don't know a lot of people, but you know someone there. Like that's actually good. And but it's crazy because me and Luck, we trained together like twice, and me and Hatch, we have the same trainer. So like football is a small world, and me, Josh Pearson, and Terry, we all played against each other in the OVC conference.
No
Wow.
way.
Yeah, and then me and Terry also played against each other in JUCO. So I went to Copiah Lincoln Community College, and Terry went to Itawamba Community College. So we played against each other.
And those
Yeah,
guys you
so
just mentioned, Terry, Josh, I like just being around the team all year. Like you guys have a lot of fun, a lot of smiling, a lot of dancing. Like just talk about the bonds that you formed with some of those in the receiver room this year.
I kind of already knew of Terry and Josh already. So being from Mississippi, I think Terry hometown probably like 40 minutes from mine, so it's not far at all. And so those Mississippi ties, so that's how we connected so well. And then me and Josh, everybody always seeing me and Josh together. And that was my roommate this season. And I think we bonded the most through singing. Like we always singing songs. So no matter where we were gonna sing a song. No matter who was around or what time it was, we gonna sing a song we know.
Hey, so what are the chances we get an O Canada duet with Josh and yourself next year? What do you think?
That can happen. But I don't think we would have been able to done it this year together. We probably would have been laughing too much together.
Yeah, I will say he was pretty good. He was nervous going in.
He did look real nervous, but he did it. He got it done. He did real good. But
Were you
nah,
when you found out that he was doing it? Were you on the side of go ahead, like you got this, or were you like be careful because it could go bad?
nah, Josh not no shy dude, so I knew that he would be fine. I knew he was gonna be a little nervous, but once he started singing, he was just, oh well, I gotta do it now. So I knew he was gonna do fine though.
Love it. Kind of bring this full circle, Alex, back in Mississippi, getting your body, getting your mind right. Great season. We come up short of the ultimate prize, but how much does that fuel you going forward to come back and finish the job?
Man, that feels me and that feels a lot of guys a lot because we see how close that we really were, and we seen like how special this year was, and you just want to add more to that, and all the good things that we done this year. You just want to add on to that next year, carrying that good energy, positive vibes into the next season. At the training camp, so maybe be another great year.
If we don't catch you training in the gym, on the gridiron, or in the bowling alley, what are you doing? What are some of your other fun hobbies? Singing, dancing, but besides all that,
Uh, you hear a lot of noise, that's because it's raining.
it's like a down. I was gonna say you're like you're in a hurricane there. You all right?
Nah. It just raining real hard. But besides singing and bowling a little bit, I love going for walks. Can you guys hear me pretty good?
Oh yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I love going for walks. I stayed downtown, like a few minute, like a 3 minute, 4 minute walk from the stadium. So I used to always go walking through the parks on the sunny days. So I love it. And Vancouver is beautiful. You know, it's a great thing to see. You know, and so like I love nature. So no, I just love going for walks, listening to music, and like that was my thing. And having like a little wine every now and then. So a lot of guys that knew me, especially receivers, they know I love my wine. So like wine, music, and going for walks, that was my thing.
What's your wine of choice? Red, white? What do you little Merlot? Little what do you like?
I like red. I like red. I had some white wine once before. It was pretty good when I went to Cancun, but I prefer red. I really don't have a favorite. I just don't. I don't mind trying any kind of red. Really, I prefer dry though. Dry
Yeah,
wine. Yeah.
there you go.
I,
Yeah, Nick.
I imagine you walk the seawall a lot, but did you get up to any like hikes outside of the mainland, like any like grouse grind or anything like that?
Nah, no hikes. I wanted to go on multiple hikes, but what stopped me was I always see a video on social media on Facebook or Instagram or a wild animal attacking someone. I'm like, nope, not today. I changed my mind.
Yeah, you
But
got to go in
I
groups and do it with bear spray.
yeah, man. I was asking some of the teammates, some of the guys, and like you should go in groups. Hiking is pretty fun. So I didn't do that year, so I got to do it next year when we get back. But that always changed my mind when I saw those videos of like a bear or something or a wild animal coming out on someone, and I was like, nah, I'll pass. I'll stick to walking through the parks or maybe going to the beach or something like that.
I
Yeah.
mean, you can head to Grouse or the Chief and Squamish. There'd be a small chance you might see some
Yeah,
wildlife, but for the most part, you're okay.
yeah. I heard North Van was a good place to go hiking.
Oh yeah, Capilano.
Yeah,
Yeah, go with JB. James Butler was a big fan of a lot of those sites. Maybe he can show you around.
yeah. I saw him. I saw his Instagram story. He went hiking a couple times. It was a nice view. It was dope.
Well, the beaches too, right? I think you went to a bunch of beaches this season, right? In
Yeah,
Vancouver.
we went to Kids a few times. Me and some of the guys.
Kits is a spot
A
for
big
you.
group. A big group of us, huh?
Kits is a spot for you. Top spot.
Yeah, it was a good spot. We went out there probably like 4 times in the year. Yeah, when it was warm and sunny out. Yeah,
Yeah,
it
I
was a
always
nice little it was a nice little spot. And they had like a restaurant on the beach, and me and Josh went there probably like 2 or 3 times. So we like that little spot right there.
I always
And
tell
we were,
Matt and the guys here that we gotta like compile all these answers about talking about the nature and the weather and the beaches here, and just use that as a recruiting campaign for anybody that wants to come play football for the Lions. You really
yeah,
got it good here in Vancouver.
Yeah, Kits Beach definitely a lot of good things to see there. Definitely, very
yeah.
good. Yeah, a lot of
We was actually,
good.
hey, we was actually out there hooping one time.
Who's that? Sorry.
Just me and Josh. We was actually hooped out there one time.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I was throwing Josh alley hoops from everywhere.
Wow. See, we gotta see more video, more content ideas. We're
Yeah,
loving
I
this.
was.
Instagram story.
Yeah. We're glad we were able to track you down. Listen, Alex, this was a lot of fun. Glad we got you on, and I'm glad that you're safe and you're staying dry. Get inside the house,
Yeah, I'm trying
and
to.
and we'll be sure to be in contact more before training camp.
Oh yeah, okay, cool. Oh yeah, for sure.
Appreciate you. Yeah,
Thank
hopefully you're
you.
not trapped in that car.
Yeah.
Nah, I'm not. I'm about to get ready to go to my cousin's house and play the game.
Awesome. Special thanks to Alexander Hollins. And again, Nick, one of those guys, early days in 2022 training camp. You know, this guy can play. This guy's got talent, but it's just a matter of how he's going to get on to the roster. Unfortunately, it came at the expense of Lucky Whitehead mainly, but we know Brian Burnham was battling injuries, and who knows what happens with the likes of Brian Burnham, really the only American free agent in that receiving core, and who knows what he decides personally. Perhaps we'll know real soon, but the Lions at least can look to the future with some of these exciting pieces.
Yeah, and it's always a big kudos to a guy who sticks it out pretty much the entire season on the practice roster and waits for his chance and works every day to deserve his chance. And Hollins ultimately gets his chance and really came up clutch in the playoff games. And yeah, really, again, like you said, stood out from the get and earned every opportunity that he got this season.
Yep, and we look forward to seeing him build on that. Veterans reporting to Kamloops. Start counting the days, young Nick. May the 13th. Thompson Rivers University, Hillside Stadium, the tournament capital, our second home. And really, we wanted to branch out a little bit and talk about the spots we visit. Next May in Kamloops, it's going to be, to use a term from the kids that would use, it's going to be bumpin', Nick.
Oh, yeah.
Memorial Cup games kick off, I believe, May 26th. I believe that would be the weekend we're out of there for a road preseason game. But we will be back for a portion of the tournament. We saw the Kamloops Blazers play Seattle in game 1 of the conference final last year. One of our first Saturdays up there. Rick Lollisher and his lovely wife Joan took us. That's going to be a party. I don't know if you ever experienced the Memorial Cup. I went to one game in Vancouver when the Giants hosted and won it back in 2007. But it's going to be a little extra party atmosphere up there. I'm looking forward to being part of that environment.
Oh, me too. Definitely want to get out to a game. I've been nowhere near a Memorial Cup game before, so definitely looking forward to that. And it's nice that it's going to overlap with our schedule too. Like you said, I did look at that and think, okay, we're on the road when the tournament kicks off, but we'll be back for the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of regulation play. So yeah, looking forward to that. And let's pencil it in. We're going to a game.
Yeah, you, me, Steven, and Liam. Let's look at 4 tickets to any random. It doesn't have to be. Might be easier to secure tickets to a non-Kamloops game.
Anything, yeah.
We'll put some feelers out there. We'll experience that. We'll add that to the list. Hey, we saw Major League Baseball postseason game this year. Mariners beating Toronto in game 1. We saw a good chunk of it anyway. Showed up there in the 3rd inning, and I was so glad you were persistent in wanting to do that. One of the non-football highlights for me was getting a chance to do that. And, we kind of branch out. I mean, how fun a year was this for you, Nick? Experiencing every major Canadian city and getting to take in some sights. That's one of the great perks of this job.
Yeah, that was fantastic this season. I really hadn't experienced the Alberta cities really traveling at all, so that was really cool. Those places stood out for sure. Again, we couldn't, the fact that you can go to pro sports games when other teams pro sports games when you're out on the road and have some downtime, I think that's such a cool facet of the job. And we almost went to an Oilers game too. That lined up well with our schedule, but we didn't pull the trigger on that one. I was gung-ho about pulling the trigger on that one too, but there'll be another opportunity, I'm sure. But yeah, getting to a playoff baseball game, and we didn't make it for the first inning, which it was impossible to do so just based on our flight. But the fact that we got to go to one was really, really cool, in my opinion.
Yeah, scratch that off the list. And, we've both seen Grey Cups. I've been to a couple Super Bowls. I've been to the Stanley Cup final in 2011. And, that was very special. And just you get to go experience these cities. These are work trips, believe it or not. I mean, based on our Instagram stories, based on what we're talking about in the Monday morning meeting when we're recapping what we got up to, it's just a cool vibe to soak in some of the cool places where other CFL fans frequent. I mean, we were just in Regina for the Grey Cup. I'm craving Leopold's. I want to go back to Leopold's. You and I did that on the Friday night. I went back with a couple of our coworkers game day morning for brunch. Glad I did that. Just those vibes. I mean, some hidden gems on this CFL circuit.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, Leopold's Tavern is a staple across the prairies right now. They're all
I understand. Yeah,
they got to get out to BC sooner or later. But as far as just, it's really, you have the evening off, right? In most cases on the road trip, so you're spending an evening in a new city, and then other than that, then it's a work trip essentially, because you fly in, and then next thing you know, it's game day, and you have to go to the stadium early, and everything that comes with it. But yeah, experiencing the road cities was good, and we've talked about how the weather was pretty dang good for all 7 cities we went to this season. And yeah, I'm excited to get to Hamilton, and ideally we'll go to Hamilton during the regular season as well, but let's make it 2 trips to Hamilton next season.
I would think so. I would think they wouldn't do that twice in a row. We didn't make it to Hamilton. Montreal didn't make it here. And I guess if you do the math, if you stick with that template, there's one Eastern city we wouldn't go to. I'm praying like hell Montreal's not the odd place out. Montreal is my favorite spot, other than Vancouver in Canada and in this league. Just something cool about being out there. We usually hit up Crescent Street, the cigar bar, Stogie's, shameless plug there. See, Moj is influencing us badly there. I know you enjoyed Stogie's. And the cool thing with me with Montreal is we went to some other place, Winston Churchill's, just kind of around the corner from Stogie's, and it's like a nightclub setup. So get there at 11 o'clock at night, and it's dead. I'm thinking, okay, that's typical. I guess this is a Thursday night, maybe. But what always strikes me about people in Eastern Canada, specifically Montreal, they go out late, like 12:30 at night. That place was hopping, and it's just a very cool vibe hanging out in Montreal. We always go in August, September, so the weather's still great. Get a little smoked meat. I know we experience that. It's a staple. Montreal's the best for me. So,
yeah, in terms of like the actual football, I really like their stadium's backdrop. I say that's the best in the CFL. I'm a big Toronto guy, so I really enjoyed all the festivities we got to do in Toronto, whether it was a baseball game or a restaurant, and going for a walk in the morning or along the harbor. So that was a lot of fun. And then you got the Winnipegs and the Reginas that are just you get there and there's people wearing green and people wearing blue wherever you look, right? So you just feel like you're in a football town, and that atmosphere is always good. So each city really has its pros, but yeah, those ones stand out to me.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned Winnipeg too, because they're, be honest, like not a lot to do there. I mean, downtown on a weeknight, not much going on, although there is that cool little market by the hockey arena that we went to.
You got to cross the street first.
That got to go under the ground, the underground skywalks or whatever they are, above ground, whatever it is. I guess it doesn't really make sense, but the people in Winnipeg are fantastic, and might not be the nicest city in Canada. That's just not sugarcoating it, but the people are fantastic. As far as football goes, it is so good. I just earlier talked about rewatching snippets of our heartbreaking loss in the Western Final, and you can feel the Bombers fans' passion through the screen. We're kind of there. We're in it. We're in the moment. Maybe we're not thinking about it as much, as weird as that sounds. But I think TV kind of adds a different element to it. I've never had a bad time in Winnipeg either, just because from a pure football standpoint, it's really, you can't beat it.
Yeah, and we brought up in that Western Final that the X factor very much could have been the crowd, and it definitely proved to be quite true with that last drive, not being able to get plays in as quick as you would like, and then there was the odd time count penalty, the odd procedure. So not only are they loud and passionate, it actually has an impact on the game. So that's what every CFL market definitely strives for.
Yeah, and it's you hear a lot about how it's a prairie-driven league, and there's hope here, resurgence on the West Coast. Hopefully, this Grey Cup for the Argos gives them a little shot in the arm, and Montreal has loud, passionate fans. Any prairie city. Ottawa, we forgot to mention Ottawa. I love going to Ottawa, hanging out in the Byward Market and walking past Parliament. I'm a bit of a history buff, visited the War Museum one time. So it's truly is a special thing we get to experience, and I'm intrigued for the schedule to come out just to see where we're going and when.
Yeah, that's another exciting off-season project we got going on, a schedule release.
Stay tuned, as they say. Yeah, lots of cool video content. One video you're working on, I just watched again. It's a bit of a tearjerker, folks. So that's all we can say right now.
Yeah, a lot of year in review.
A lot of year in review, and Arrow Up Season 2 will happen. We'll be at the CFL Combine. Speaking of Edmonton, hey, I didn't even look at the schedule. Maybe we can catch a hockey game at the end of March. Perhaps we can give Jamie Cartmell a call, former communications director and original First and Now co-host.
Love it.
Now doing director of hockey communications with the Oilers. He's Connor McDavid's bodyguard now officially, I think. So always love the chance to catch up with him when we get to Edmonton. And we always love the chance catching up with you, the listeners. Thank you again for tuning in. Subscribe, rate, leave us a review. We'll branch out next week. I want to talk a little bit about the NFL, Major League Baseball free agency about to heat up. We do talk other sports on this podcast at various points of the offseason. We'll branch out a bit next week when we're back inside the Go Goat Sports Studios. Nick, have a wonderful day.
You too, man.